Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today we are playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in today's episode, we are finally going to get a chance, hopefully, to investigate Harebrain's machine. What truths will be revealed as we try and discover what exactly was tampered with and how it functioned? Let's hop in and find out. All right, 23rd October, 1:36 p.m., the Old Bailey's Defenders Antechamber. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? I'm so sorry. I was wrong. You were right. I tricked you. You trusted me. I dragged you into my mess. Oh, how did it ever come to this? I'm so sorry. He's not a bad guy. Did you really have no idea, though, Professor? About Mr. Drubber was really up to, I mean? About what he was really constructing? Naturally. That machine was the embodiment of my hypothesis, of all my hopes and dreams. I had complete faith in it. All right, in that case, I won't say any more. Now, sadly, the murder accusation against you still stands, so we must do as much investigation as we can before the trial resumes tomorrow. All right. Well, thank you for doing so much for me. I mean, I'm glad to help. Hopefully we can find something. And Sasato is back. I'm so sorry for arriving late this morning, Mr. Naruhodo. Arriving late? Didn't you receive my postcard? I wanted to let you know when I'd arrive. Postcard? What postcard? I hid it from you, Bruno, so it would be a surprise. Well, did it work? I was surprised, all right. Especially when she threw me to the ground. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I was just so happy to see you again that it sort of slipped out. I just accidentally threw you to the ground in a Sasato takedown. Maybe we could stick to more traditional displays of emotion in the future. Susie's train was late into London Victoria this morning, you see. But we made the coachman really whip the horses hard so she didn't miss the whole trial. I was watching from the gallery for a while, but in the end, I'm afraid I couldn't contain myself. Well, I'm glad you didn't. Oh. Having you at my side in court gives me the strength I need to win. So, I'm, delighted to see you. Back in London. Oh, you're too kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm delighted to be here. I hope I can continue to be of service to you. Of course. So, what's brought you back? Did Professor Mikotoba not protest? Let's save all that conversation for when we're back at home, shall we? You know, I've made one of my most special blends ever for this special occasion. Oh, Iris, how wonderful. I can't wait. Lovely. She's gonna make us some tea. Susato-san was back in London. It's hard to describe how happy that made me feel at the time. But despite my elation, our tale was about to take yet another extraordinary turn. 23rd October, 2:41 p.m. Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. She's back. Oh, this room. It's been too long. It hasn't changed in the slightest, though. And it's been some 6 months, hasn't it? That's a long time for things to stay so familiar. I didn't know when you might return, and I wanted everything to be as you'd left it. But it has been some 6 months, it's true. So, is your father all right, Susie? What happened? My father? Yes, Professor Mikotoba. I mean, it was half a year ago, but that's why you went back to Japan. Because of the telegram you received saying he'd fallen ill with a very high fever for some unknown reason? That's right. So I was surprised to learn you'd be coming back so soon, Surprised but happy. She knows truths. Is she going to share them, I wonder? I think I wrote about it in my letter to you, that it was all a trick. My father is in fine health, and I'm obviously very relieved about that. Well, we're all delighted to have you back. It was quite by accident that I've been able to return to Europe, actually. It's because of a very grand conference called the International Forensic Science Symposium. The International Forensic... That's the same symposium Lord Strongheart mentioned. Anyway, I've arrived safe and sound, and all that matters is that I'm here now. After all, I haven't yet fulfilled my promise to you, Iris. Oh. You must tell us everything that happened while you were back in Japan. Yes, of course, I shall. And there's one other thing? Something you wrote in your letter that particularly grabbed my attention. About, you know who? About Kazuma. I know. I'll tell you all that I can. Alright, let's see what she has to say. Okay, back in Britain. When I first arrived back in Japan, I really thought I'd never be allowed to return to Britain. But curiously, after that awful trial at the Supreme Court, Father's mood changed entirely. The awful trial? Oh yes, for the murder of Giselle Brett. Oh, you dressed as a man then, didn't you, Susie? Oh, well, yes. Since women are forbidden in the courtroom, I had no choice. Wow, amazing. I wish I'd seen it, don't you, Bruno? Yeah, that was the first episode of Resolve, so if you haven't seen that one, you should check that case out. It was great. Yes, I suppose so. I want to play at being a lawyer now. I could wear a false mustache, maybe. I don't think any mustache could hide the fact that you're just 10 years old, Iris. There's something else I've been wanting to ask you, Mr. Sato. It's about the real reason why Professor Mikotoba summoned you back to Japan. You said in your letter it was something to do with that convict's loot that we found in Mr. Natsumi's lodgings. That's right. The very large dog collar we found with the bee emblem on it. It seems Mr. Natsumi included a drawing of the collar in the report he submitted about his time in Britain. I understand that when Father saw the report, he turned as white as a sheet. I wonder what he's involved in. Why would that be then? He knows something. Father came to Britain himself, of course, to study. It was some time ago now, but he stayed for 6 years. I can only imagine that something must have happened during that time. But if he refuses to tell me what it was, then I intend to find the answers for myself. And I've decided that I, for one, won't keep any more secrets. That's great. Oh, Susie. That's a very meaningful look Susato-sen's giving Iris there. All right, what about this symposium? Lord Strongheart mentioned something about the symposium too. I think he said that investigative authorities from 40 different countries would attend. Yes, and from Japan, my father and Judge Jigoku have been invited. It's something of an honor, I believe. Well, Professor Mikotoba is the leading expert in forensic medicine in our country, after all. I wonder if this is going to be like the final case, how everything ties together, all the pieces. Makes me wonder. But who's the other person you mentioned? A judge, did you say? Yes, His Excellency, Judge Shishiro Jigoku. You've met him, Mr. Naruhodo. Last year, in the Supreme Court. You can't possibly have forgotten. Yep, when we were on trial for murder, right? That terrible trial of yours, when you were accused of murder. Yes. I try to think of that as a positive turning point in my life these days. Well, it was Judge Jigoku who presided over that trial. If I'm perfectly honest, I'd be happy never to see that man's face again in my life. Oh, well, anyway, as Father was invited to the symposium, he agreed to me returning to Britain too. He won't actually arrive until next month, but, well, I couldn't wait. So I pleaded with him, and in the end, he agreed to me going on ahead. Yes, about the symposium. It seems as though Lord Strongheart has put in an awful lot of work to make it happen. It's obviously very important. I believe it is, yes. As I understand it, Lord Strongheart organized the entire event himself. I think he's hoping that by achieving exceptional results, he'll get the job of Attorney General, the most senior position in the British justice system. He's hoping to use his power to create the world's finest policing institution. I bet he could do it. That's what Father said anyway. Apparently, it's Lord Strongheart's lifelong ambition. Does Professor Mikatoba know Lord Strongheart personally, then, I wonder? Actually, Lord Strongheart gave me a long speech all about this very subject only yesterday, and I'm pretty sure we fell asleep during that speech. But I sort of lost the will to live early on and didn't listen to much of it. How trying for you. Indeed. Alright, now what about Giselle Brett? Giselle Brett, the woman whose unforgivable actions ended in me being wrongly accused of a crime I didn't commit. The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, Giselle Brett. That's a name I won't forget for as long as I live. The extraordinary thing is, though, it seems it's a name we should all forget. Sorry? Since the incident, our government's intelligence services have been investigating Miss Brett. But it turns out that an Englishwoman by the name of Giselle Brett didn't actually exist. It didn't exist? But how can that be? It was a pseudonym. Her real name was Shin, and she wasn't a visiting student either. That was a front. A front? Who on earth was she then? Miss Shin. Her name is literally all our intelligence services have been able to ascertain about her. Nobody knows why or even how she came to be in Japan. It's a complete mystery. But that makes no sense. It's no easy task to be accepted as a foreign student anywhere. What could the woman have been up to? Well, I mean, she did murder Dr. Wilson. I'm afraid I really don't know. The only thing we can be sure of is that she had some business in our country that we don't yet understand. And now she's been killed. While all the questions surrounding her existence remain unanswered. I'm afraid so. Nation. Who on earth was she? And why do I feel as though I've heard that name before somewhere? Was it one of the names on the list on the disc that we had translated a few cases back? Because I know Kazuma's name was on it. And I think Dr. Wilson's name was on it. After my friend Ray's trial, the reporter who actually killed Miss Brett said something very strange. I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's fate. Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never... Never what? Obviously, I couldn't ask him to elaborate at the time. But later, I visited the man in his prison cell and asked him what he was going to say about Kazuma-sama. And what did you learn? After he died on the voyage to Great Britain, his body should have been unladen at the port of Hong Kong and passed into the care of the consulate staff there. Should have been? Well, it turns out that his body never arrived. Is Kazuma actually somehow still alive? Has this whole thing been a giant plot from the start? It just disappeared. What? Kazuma's body vanished? Our government tried to cover up the fact, it seems. They erected a grave on the cliffs by our hometown. Except Kazuma-sama isn't there. Did Professor Mikotoba know about this? Yes, it would seem that he did. But he didn't tell me. They're still investigating what happened to Kazuma-sama's body as we speak. I just don't believe it. And what is this acute feeling of apprehension I have all of a sudden? We know something unconsciously. We gotta put the pieces together. Thinking back now, some of the things that happened on the SS Burya were definitely strange. I mean, after he died, we never saw his body again, did we? Could it be? Could it be that he's actually still alive? Stop it, Mr. Naruhodo. It's too much to bear. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Just thinking about the possibility pains me so very much. But maybe he is. Cast your mind back for a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. When Kazuma-sama was discovered, Mr. Sholmes was there, wasn't he? Yeah, but Mr. Sholmes is also kind of sus. He's also covering stuff up with this whole Hound of the Baskervilles thing. So I wouldn't trust him to say... I think he might be in on it as well. And he definitely examined the body. I remember it clearly. You're right. So if Kazuma hadn't actually been dead at all, it would mean that Mr. Sholmes had lied to us, which I think he very well may have. But there's no reason why he would possibly have done such a thing. At least no reason we know of. I suppose that's true, yes. What's she going to say? The idea that he might still be alive somewhere. It wants to fill me with hope, but I can't let it, because if it turned out not to be true... then I'd be back at the bottom of that awful pit of despair again. I'm terrified of what that might do to me. Oh, Miss Osato. I mean, that's true. She was very depressed about it. I know she's given the idea the thought it deserves. It's Osato-san we're talking about, after all. So I probably shouldn't push it now. But yeah, that's kind of... I'm wondering if Kazuma's actually dead. It's very suspicious. Let's talk to Iris. Hey, Iris. It must be about a year ago now. I wrote a really long story based on some of my father's old notes. That's the Hound of the Baskervilles, right? It's about one of Hurley's greatest exploits. I called it the Hound of the Baskervilles. But then Mr. Sholmes forbade you from publishing it. And put the manuscript somewhere nobody could get their hands on it. So nobody knows anything about it apart from Hurley and I. But for some reason, you knew the title of it, didn't you, Susie? She did. Oh, it sounds so exciting. The Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it. And you wouldn't tell me how you'd come to know it. Yes, but I made you a promise that I would explain one day, didn't I? I think it's time. Oh. Oh boy, we get to learn some secrets. I'm only sorry I've had to keep it from you for so long, Iris. Alright, so what's the secret of the Hound of the Baskervilles? It was completely by accident that I came to know the title of your manuscript, Iris. It was a short while before we left Japan. I was cleaning Father's study, and I saw something on his writing desk. A large box of papers. There was a label affixed to the box that was written in English. It read, "The Hound of the Baskervilles." What? My Baskerville story? Of course, I had no idea what it was at the time. But Father came in and... Susato, what are you doing? Oh, Father. Did you look at those papers? No, I simply read the label, that's all. Well, put it out of your mind. Sorry? Forget that you ever saw it, and certainly don't tell anybody else about this. Do you understand? No, I definitely don't. But what was Iris's manuscript doing in Japan? There's like this huge conspiracy here. I have no idea. But when I heard Iris mention the word Baskerville that day, the title just slipped out. I would never have guessed that it was an unpublished account of one of Mr. Sholmes's exploits. She's just as shocked as we are. When I returned to Japan, I asked Father to explain, but he refused to answer any of my questions. And there was no sign of the big box in his office. What is going on with that? That's really all I know about it. I've no doubt that Father has a very good reason for being so secretive about it, but still. I made up my mind to explain myself to both of you. I mean, it makes sense. Well, thank you for being so honest, Susie. Now, what does it mean, though? That's the question. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm ready to start investigating if you are. I've committed every detail about the case to memory. Oh boy. And Iris has told me about the disturbing happenings at the Waxwork Museum as well. So you're fully abreast of the situation already, Mr. Sato. I'd expect nothing less, to be honest. I would think our first port of call should be to investigate this Mr. Drebber, the engineer responsible for building the elaborate machine that was used to effect this extraordinary trick. Yes, a conjurer of sorts by the sound of it, well known in the fields of science and magic. Then we need to go and arrest him. Well, yes. He must know the truth behind this case, so I agree we really do need to find the man. It sounds like it's a case of tracking someone down. Which is a job for the police, or a great detective. Are we supposed to guess who she might be thinking of? Kinda obvious. We don't have much time, so we need to get started straight away, I think. Good idea. Well, best of luck then. Oh, you're not coming today? I'm going to Brixton Road shortly for the herb market. But let me know later how you got on, won't you? Of course. Alright, well. That was a little abrupt. The pull of the herb market must be strong. The 23rd of October. The Great Exhibition Grounds. Foot of the Crystal Tower. Oh boy. At least we can finally investigate stuff. I had no idea there were so many people in the world. I know what you mean. It's really packed here today. It feels as though it's taken us 2 hours just to make our way through the crowds to this point. Has it? I shut my brain down, so I didn't really notice, to be honest. Gosh, I do wish I had your absence of mind sometimes, Mr. Naruhodo. when, when a flaw becomes a benefit. There you are. I had a feeling you lot would show your mugs before long. Is that the inspector? Yep. Okay, I knew it was. Oh, Inspector Gregson. I see you're hard at work as usual. Warm greetings to you. I do hope you've been keeping well since we last met. What's with all the ceremony? We just saw each other in court this morning. Not you, Sunshine, the gentlewoman so loyally at your side. Oh. Why, thank you, Inspector. How good of you to notice. He might be a bit rough around the edges, but he's still a proper English gentleman at heart, I suppose. As you probably guessed, we were hoping to investigate the scene some more. Right, well, that's the young trainee's domain. Oi, get over here, Gina. She's like wrangling a dog. Oh boy, she seems to be busy playing with a puppy, probably giving it a traditional East End training. Gina? She's a police officer now? Amazing, isn't it? She's a good kid, actually. Heart's in the right place anyway. She's got a detection bug, if you ask me. Yep, I think she'll follow in my footsteps nicely. What do you mean? I'm being transferred. It's time for me to say toodaloo to London. Oh no, really? That's a bit sudden, isn't it? I had no idea. Where are you going to be posted then? We'll come to see how you're getting along. Haha, not likely, but you're welcome to try, if you don't mind a trip to France, that is. To France? I'll be working in the Paris Police Prefecture. Should be right up my alley. But France is an entirely different country. I don't understand. Why would you be sent there? That's the way the adult world works, Sunshine. Now don't go poking your nose in where it's not wanted. Something suspicious is going on here. I'm intending to take the kid with me when I go. What? You're taking Gina to Paris? Well, I can't leave her here in London. Who knows what'd become of her? I suppose he's worried she'd slip back into slipping her hands into people's pockets and purses. I don't think he's worried about her pickpocketing, Mr. Naruhodo. I think he's worried about the Reaper. Oh, of course. So that's playing on Inspector Gregson's mind too, is it? Anyway, I haven't mentioned any of this to Gina, so don't go blabbing, you hear me? No, of course not. I've got to keep that diving diva safe and sound. Until all this is over, at least. All what is over? That's what I want to know. Oi, did you just call me a bloomin' diva, diving diva again? So you heard that, did ya? Right, well, any questions about the scene, you can put them to my capable detective diva here. I mean, she's got to be happy about that. Alright, you heard the boss. Inspector Lestrade's in charge here now. I suppose I'd better keep my word and not mention anything about Paris. So, Gina, you got a new dog there, have you? Isn't he great? Dobie's his name. What a cute doggy. Oh, how delightful. He's absolutely adorable. Yes, the dog does seem lovely. But it's the not-so-lovely Inspector Gregson that's playing on my mind, to be honest. Oh boy, let's talk to Gina. What about the scene? Investigating the scene? Gina, we were actually hoping we could investigate the scene again. Alright, if it's around here, you can do what you like. Oh, that's alright, is it? I'm gonna be playing with me new friend here. Ah, yes, Toby. Woof. The machine that exploded must be at the top of these stairs, I presume. I haven't actually seen it yet, so if you don't mind. Sorry, you can't go up there, Suze. Oh. It's like I told Odo yesterday, even I ain't allowed near that wreck. What's it called again? The reason we aren't supposed to touch it? The Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act? Is that what you were thinking of? That's the one. That's why only them lot are allowed to investigate it. What are they called again? The forensic something? The Forensic Investigation Team? Is that what you were thinking of? That's the one, yeah. But isn't it the case that the special dispensation has been... lifted? I think so. I don't really get it, to be truthful with ya. You're still supposed to get permission from some bigwig or other as far as I know. What was his name again? Lord Strange something? Lord Strongheart? I'm not sure that's quite right, Gina. I think you mean Lord Strongheart, perhaps. That's the one, yeah. Apparently he's always watching the time or something. Indeed he is. So without Lord Strongheart's express permission, we can't investigate the stage, okay? What about today's trial? It was great, weren't it? I had a right laugh. It was a new one on me, that. You know, being in court and not spending the whole time worrying I'm about to be found out. That must be a new experience for her. You did keep an awful lot of secrets in your previous court appearances, didn't you? Yeah, Odo's made things hard for me every single time and all. Just doing my job, Gina. Watching someone else get in the neck is a lot of fun, actually. It was amazing when you showed that dodgy professor's dodgy experiment was a total fix. And the dodgy professor, as you put it, Gina, is Mr. Naruhodo's client. Yes, I'm starting to wish he wasn't, though. It's the boss I feel sorry for, sent off to do the impossible. What do you mean? He's supposed to arrest that other cove, ain't he? And it in time for tomorrow and all. You know, the dodgy engineer. What's his name again? Mr. Drubber, you mean? Enoch Drubber? That's the one, yeah. So the police are looking for this mysterious man with the black monocle. I guess they would be. I wonder if he might be hiding at, like, the Waxwork Museum. It's putting too much on the boss, if you ask me. It is as it's giving him gut ache. Okay. Oh dear, but I do wonder if that actually isn't from all the fried food. Of course it is. Alright, what about, where do we think the engineer is? So Scotland Yard are trying to track down Mr. Enoch Drubber. I wonder if they've had any luck. He's really funny looking, got two eyes what don't match, stole a glimpse of a picture of him earlier. I mean, I didn't actually pinch it or nothing, the old devil's got it. Sorry, who? You know, that scowling reaper what's always glugging down glasses of blood red plonk. Yeah, he's always drinking his blood. Ah, Lord Van Zieks. He's always at it in for me, that cove. Don't know what he's always scowling about, mind. Probably would have been a pretty good boss as it goes. She'd rather be the Reaper's apprentice than a detective's trainee. The way I see it, if the choice is between a chip-guzzling detective and a chalice-guzzling demigod, you're equally badly off with both. I suppose you're right. I hadn't thought of it like that. God, we put that one to bed. Anyway, the point is, everyone at Scotland Yard, or at the Yard's dead set on finding the fishy engineer. But there don't seem to be no clues to go on, so they're stuck. There's nothing that can lead us to Drubber at all? I wonder if that's true. Where'd this dog come from? Where did you find that little mutt then, Gina? Oi, don't be so flamin' rude, Odo. Slight overreaction, don't you think? Ain't no mutt, alright. Toby's, how do they put it? Oh yeah, a bona fide detective. Sorry? I've given him a proper title and everything. It's Chief Inspector Toby to you. More senior than Inspector Gregson, is he? Oh, so he's a police dog, is he? The police recruit dogs now. I've heard they're already being used officially in Germany as part of their city policing. They're used for chasing criminals and such like. They have a wonderful sense of smell, after all. I have a fairly good sense of smell myself, as it happens. I can tell undergarments that have been freshly laundered from undergarments that haven't. I love that look that Susanna is giving you. She's like, my guy, do your laundry. Ah, that's nothing compared to this little fella, Otto. Oh, really? According to what the boss said. What Toby is got a good whiff of your drawers? He could chase that scent to the other side of the world. What? To the other side of the world? You mean he can swim? I think he's missing the point. Mr. Norholdo, I think you may have missed the point by rather a wide margin. Exactly? I just can't believe this little dog has such an incredible skill. So can we use the dog to track down the engineer? I'm telling you, Oda, there's going to be more and more dogs doing their bit for the police in future. Yes, I agree. Alright, one of these days they'll be barking orders at us lot, not the other way around. Oh dear. Sorry, Gina, I don't think I agree with your vision quite that much. Well, anyway, whatever you think about that, Toby is Britain's first police dog. I found him down the East End the other day. Someone had just chucked him out on the street. There you go. I knew she'd lifted him from somewhere. Oh, Gina, you're such a kind-hearted soul, aren't you? To children and to animals. Alright. So, I guess we need to go get permission from Lord Strongheart to see if we can investigate the scene, right? Let's go check it out. Oh boy. 23rd of October. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. All right, who is this? Oh, who's that standing beside Lord Strongheart? I wonder. I've never seen her before. Ah, the young champion of the court. You had some success this morning, I understand. And you've thrown the entire government into disarray as a result. Oh, you mean because of Professor Harebrain's experiment? Sham science being demonstrated at London's Great Exhibition. The country has been made to look foolish, and now politicians are scrabbling to respond. Lord Van Zieks is in Whitehall as we speak, giving an emergency briefing. Oh dear, I didn't mean to cause any trouble. None of this is your responsibility. The government is entirely to blame for having been taken in. And the special dispensation that prevents investigation at the scene will be annulled later today. Once that happens, my forensic investigation team will move in and deal with that scrap metal in no time. It's scrap metal now, is it? Until later then, Lord Strongheart. Yes, thank you. I don't know who this is. She looks like a scientist. Now he turns his attention fully to us. Who was that? None of your business. That was Dr. Courtney Slythe, Scotland Yard's esteemed chief coroner. I knew she looked like a doctor. She is leading the forensic investigation team handling of this case. She was just delivering her report about the victim, in fact. Oh, I see. About Mr. Asman. Following the outcome of the trial earlier, I asked the coroner's office to reevaluate its findings. I don't have time to tell you what she concluded. If you want to know, you'll have to ask her directly. You can find her in the forensics laboratory. Ah, right. Okay. Nice. Now, what were you here to see me about? I can give you 7 minutes and 39 seconds of my time. So he's not running quite so spectacularly late anymore. Alright, so can we get permission to, let's see, forensic investigation team. What exactly is the forensic investigation team that you mentioned before? The British Empire's police force must become the most exemplary in the world. For that to happen, it's imperative that we embrace forensic science and everything it has to offer. I first created the forensic investigation team a year ago now, unofficially of course, to pave the way. Goodness, a year ago? At next month's symposium, I intend to present the results of their work to the world. Once I do that, the House of Lords will be powerless to oppose the creation of a full-scale forensics division. And once that happens, the position of Attorney General will be mine, and criminals will suffer dearly. What do you mean? For too long, those scoundrels have made a mockery of our legal system with false evidence and bribes. But London's scum is about to be rounded up and burnt in the fires of hell. Oh boy, I intend to see to it personally. By creating the finest police force the world has ever known to protect our honor and our future. Look at those eyes. He means every word. He's got crazy eyes. Dr. Slythe is an extremely reliable scythe. When I officially establish the forensic division at Scotland Yard, she will run it as my right-hand woman. Now then, speaking of the symposium, Miss Mikotoba. Oh, yes, my lord? Your father should be on the high seas as we speak, making his way here to represent the Empire of Japan. Yes, that's right. I understand he will arrive at the beginning of next month. Are you acquainted, Lord Strongheart? With Professor Mikotoba, I mean? He's like, you're so nosy? It was many years ago now, but yes, I remember Dr. Mikotoba very well. Yet another revelation we don't know about? What do you know about him? He's another one that's in this conspiracy, I think. If my memory serves, it was some 15 years ago now that your father came to Britain as a visiting student. It was the year I was born, so yes, 16 years ago in fact. Mikotoba was a young practitioner of forensic science, and Jugoku accompanied him as a young promising judge. The punctiliousness and politeness of the Japanese at the time impressed us greatly. He's all about time. Not that I wish to imply impoliteness or carelessness on your part in any way. I didn't think that you were. Dr. Mikotoba studied forensics at one of London's large hospitals. St. Sinners, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Scythe was also there, as it happens. Then Dr. Scythe knows my father, does she? She was a young medical assistant at the time, so I doubt their paths crossed regularly. But I've no doubt they knew each other superficially. After all, Dr. Mikotoba was here studying his subject for some 6 years in total. 6 years? That's a long time to be studying abroad, isn't it? I lived with my grandmother in those years. So he left his newly born daughter behind and went overseas for 6 whole years? It was a rather turbulent time at home. Oh. Perhaps Father wanted a reason to get away. What do you mean? Why? Are we about to learn some backstory, Susato? Well, clearly something was going on at the time. She just doesn't want to talk about it. Maybe now's not the time. I wanted to ask you about Lord Van Zieks, actually. I heard that his older brother was killed some years ago by a mass murderer known as the Professor, who targeted nobles and royalty. Is that right? You Japanese are a thorough lot. You've done your research well. Yes. And you could say it was that very instant that gave rise to the Reaper. What? Why? When his brother, Clint Van Zieks, was murdered. It was just after young Barrack had graduated from the University of London and become a prosecutor. When obvious criminals who managed to evade conviction in court started disappearing, rumors quickly spread throughout the capital. Londoners started to say that wherever Barrack Van Zieks went, the ghost of his dead brother wasn't far behind. Oh my word! So Lord Van Zieks isn't the Reaper, it's the ghost of his brother? Ever since that time, he became a very aloof figure in London's legal circles. I imagine so, if he's got all these rumors circulating about him. Oh yes, Lord Strongheart. Go ahead. It's about Professor Harebrain's experimental machine. We'd like your permission to examine the remains if possible. Do you have time for it? Oh, you're well versed in science then? Not in the slightest. In fact, you could say I was barely aware of the subject at all until recently. Oh well, the special dispensation legally preventing investigation of the machine is currently being annulled. Within a few hours, Dr. Syed's team of forensic experts will begin their own investigation. But I suppose until then, there's no harm in you looking at the wreckage, as long as you touch nothing. Thank you. Being able to look is better than nothing. And I'll be able to see it too. Alright. Your time is up. You'll have to excuse me now, I'm afraid. My next engagement calls. Alright, well we got what we came for, so... We are extremely sorry to have troubled you when you are so busy, my lord. I have important matters to attend to in preparation for the symposium, you understand. Of course, by all means. We will just see ourselves out. 23rd October, Forensics Laboratory. I believe this is it, Dr. Syed's laboratory. That chemical smell really assaults the nose, and there's plenty to assault the eyes in here too. It looks as though the doctor isn't here. But we're here now, so we may as well do some sightseeing, don't you think? What a seasoned tourist you've become, Miss Rosato. We could just have a little look around, being careful not to upset any restless souls. Alright, so we'll examine things around here. Let's see. What do we got? What is this? Look at all the bottles on the shelves in these cabinets. What an assortment of chemicals. And these ones here are labeled highly toxic. That's worrying, because there are also things that look like salt and pepper shakers in there. Oh yes, and they actually say salt and pepper on them. The doctor probably spent a lot of time in this room, I suppose. Perhaps she has meals here sometimes. Life goes on, even when you're surrounded by death. Oh boy. Let's see, what else do we got? We got some kind of bone saw there. There's a table here. We got some tools over here. A table and a set of sharp tools. When you consider each in isolation, it all looks quite innocent. So why is it that when you put them side by side, they seem so horribly disturbing? It might be best not to ponder it too deeply. Seeing the large tome that's open on the desk does make me wonder, though. How can anybody concentrate on bookwork with this acrid odor of chemicals in the air? You'd either have to have a cast iron constitution or a really terrible sense of smell. Alright, what else do we got? We got stuff up here on the shelf. Is that like specimens? Those large jars seem to have pale things floating around inside of them. I suppose they're fruit liquors or something? I don't think so. Or like the pickled umeboshi plums we make back home? I don't think so. Father had jars like that in his laboratory as well. I expect they're human organs in a preserving solution, probably as examples of some rare medical condition. Mrs. Sato, there are some things in the world that is perfectly fine never to know about. Ever. Oh. So as I said, I'm sure they're fruit liquors or umeboshi, aren't they? Of course. He's living in willful ignorance. All right, what else do we got? Let's see. We got some files over here. Oh, look at this. What a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to a high sheen, and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. Western cabinet makers really are very skilled, aren't they? Do you have nothing to say about the skeleton inside, Mr. Naruhodo? I think he's purposely not saying anything, Mrs. Hado. Can't you tell that I'm trying very hard to avoid talking about the terrifying contents of the case? It's how I cope. I'll be sure to remember that from now on. Oh boy. All right. What else do we got? We got an owl and like a raven up here. Well, that looks like an owl and a crow up there. Oh, a crow. I guess a raven would be bigger. I know, and they haven't even twitched since we came in here. Well, no, they wouldn't have. They're taxidermy mounts, Mr. Naruhodo. I was afraid you were going to say that. I've been trying very hard to tell myself they're just sleeping with their eyes open. Yes, I think perhaps you were wise to put something like your Daruma doll on display in the office instead. Alright, what else do we got? Anything up here? We got, over here, we've got some stuff, a lamp. I suppose this is Dr. Scythe's desk? I would not like to work in a place like this. It's very tidy, though, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo? Imagine how efficiently she must work. The lighting is poor, which is bad for the eyes, and the chemical smell can't be good for you. Not to mention the skeleton watching over you as you work, which is definitely bad for the nerves. Well, yes, those are valid concerns, I suppose. I can just about cope with a one-eyed Daruma doll watching over me, but that's all. Alright. I think the last thing might be this book here. So let's check out this logbook. Look at this big, thick book here. Ah, it appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. What are they spending? Oh. What is it? It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but... well, one entry seems rather strange. Really? In what way? They're buying 500 scalpels every month. 500? They must be working really hard on dissecting corpses. I don't know. Judicial autopsies are only carried out in certain special circumstances. And scalpel blades can be sharpened too. It does seem a bit strange, you're right. 500 scalpels a month? What could they possibly be using all of them for? Makes one wonder. What are you doing? I'm assuming. Oh, okay, it's you. Sorry, we had something we wanted to ask you, but you weren't here, so we just thought we'd barge in and investigate. So you thought you'd snoop around. That's acceptable to you people from the East, is it? Well, what do you want? Lord Strongheart told us, you see, and that it was you who examined the victim's body. Mr. Asmon's body, I mean. What's she gonna say? So we came to ask you about your findings. On Lord Strongheart's advice. Very well. If the Lord Chief Justice has given his consent, I'll tell you what our investigation revealed. But when we're done, you must leave immediately. Okay. So, what did you find? So, you want to know what the forensic investigation team determined from its examination of the scene? The victim, Mr. Ori Asman, who disappeared from the experimentation stage amid an explosion, and the Mr. Asman who appeared moments later, partway up the Crystal Tower, were without question one and the same person. That is the team's conclusion. But that can't be right. If it was an elaborate trick, we can only speculate about how it was carried out. Let's see. If two people who looked very similar to each other were involved, they could have made it appear as if one single person had switched places, couldn't they? Very true. But sadly, in this instance, that was not the case. The man who disappeared and the man who subsequently reappeared was the same person. The fingerprints at the scene make that quite evident. Fingerprints. They're not yet officially recognized as forensic evidence in the British justice system. But one day, they will be used as an investigative aid, as a matter of course. Oh my. Oh my, but that would mean that the instantaneous kinesis actually took place. So where does that leave us? My team was tasked with investigating, not drawing conclusions. I wonder. Instantaneous kinesis is impossible, and yet the body did move from one place to the other. This hasn't cleared anything up at all. It's made the whole thing even more of a mystery. Oh, man. Mama, what is this? Where did she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama? What is going on here? Oh, this is a lawyer, dear. Who are you? Oh, hello. To meet you, pleased to meet you? Yes, I'm a defense lawyer. Mama? Yes? Can I cut this one up? What? I've never seen inside an Eastern person before. I want to know what it looks like. Of course you can't. It's a live specimen, as you can very well see. She's a little messed up. A little disturbed. Humph. Boring. I think I just had a near-death experience. Oh dear, Mr. Naruhodo, you're as pale as a corpse. Let's leave before I'm mistaken for one. Agreed. All right. 23rd of October, the Great Exhibition Grounds, experimentation stage. Okay. Oh my. So this is the machine that was used to deceive people into thinking instantaneous kinesis had taken place? Yes, that's right. Or rather, it was the machine. It's a little worse for wear at the moment. What extraordinary lengths Professor Harebrain went to in order to obtain the research grant. No. The professor was tricked as well. He didn't know anything about it. Yes, of course. It's amazing though, isn't it? The scale of this whole affair is so very British. You're right about that. You'd never see such a grand deception in Japan, that's for sure. Oh, look. Is that... Ooh, Lord Van Zieks? Lord Van Zieks, indeed, indeed. I wonder what he's doing here. So, I think we're more or less done here, aren't we? Shall we, Miss Usato? Already? He is the Reaper, remember? We do well to keep our distance, I think. But we have permission to be here, from the top. We're perfectly well allowed to investigate this machine, as long as we don't touch anything. From the top? Do you mean Lord Strongheart? Exactly. So we can stay here and stare at this wreckage as long as we like. She could have been at the center of the explosion here, and it wouldn't have bent her steel will. Alright, so let's look around and see what we can find. Alright, what is this? What a terrible explosion it must have been. Even the steel girders have buckled and twisted in the blast. And what do they call the bird cage? Was right in the middle of it. Just here. The bird cage was right there. But look, Mr. Naruhodo. That metal grill on the floor. It looks as though it's designed to open. It does, doesn't it? If the floor had opened at the precise moment the explosion occurred, the bird cage could have dropped through and disappeared from sight. I don't think there's any doubt that this was a very elaborate hoax, is there? Indeed, it seems that way. Is there anything else besides Lord Zieks to look at here? I think that might be it. What is this? Oh, isn't it exhilarating? All this different architecture from all corners of the world. It does make you feel a bit like an explorer, doesn't it? I know it's all subjective, but the onion-shaped roofs have rather caught my attention personally. It is very subjective, isn't it? Japanese buildings with their wood and paper construction have excellent ventilation, and I've realized that British buildings being made from brick and stone are very strong and long-lasting. The more you know about how things are done in other countries, the more you understand your own, I feel. Oh yes, I do agree with you there. But I can't help wondering what an onion does for the roof of a building. I mean, I suppose it's playing on my mind because I don't like the taste of onions. You really oughtn't let your taste in vegetables dictate your taste in roofs, Mr. Naruhodo. They're completely unrelated. All right. And then we got the Ferris wheel over here. We're ignoring the elephant in the room. I hear that a ride on the Ferris wheel is a favorite romantic outing among young London couples. I think the romance would be slightly spoilt by the abject terror, personally. But then, I'm not a Londoner. Are you a little scared of heights, Mr. Naruhodo? It's not that I'm scared, not at all. It's just that staying on the ground seems so much safer. Well, perhaps I shall have to ask Iris and Mr. Sholmes to accompany me on it in that case. Oh boy, when you put it like that, part of me does want to give it a try. Oh dear, it is complicated for you, isn't it? Alright, time to address the elephant. Wait, no, oh, this is, wait, what? This wasn't here yesterday. Yeah, that's the bird cage. Really? But if I'm not mistaken, it's the cage in which the victim was standing before he was apparently beamed through the air. That's right, the bird cage. According to what Professor Harebrained said in court, it's made of wood. Or more precisely, Japanese cypress, I think. And despite having been in an explosion and then falling from a great height, it's relatively unharmed. What wonderfully durable construction, wouldn't you say, Mr. Naruhodo? I'd understand that the forensic investigation team had taken it away yesterday to examine it. I suppose they must have brought it back here when they'd finished their work. But sadly, not with the body inside it. No, that's right. I know we were given strict instructions not to touch anything, but still. This is too important a piece of evidence to overlook. We might need it for the trial. Alright, so the bird cage from the machine has been entered into the court record. I wonder what we can find on it. Let's take a peek at it. Let's see. Let's examine this. What can we see? There's a hole here. Ah, look here, Mr. Sato. Oh yes, the wood's cracked and broken a little. I suppose it's because it fell from such a height? Yes, from the height at which the balloon was flying down into the crystal tower below. A fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters. Leaving the man inside tragically dead. Alright. What else do we got? Anything else we can look at? I think that might be it. Let's see. Is there anything else we can look at? I think we've already examined it, so we've gotten it updated, so we'll just have to... Alright. Now for you, sir. Oh boy. Ugh. Least approachable man in the world winner 10 years in a row. Be strong, Mr. Naruhodo. Your country and your assistant stand firm behind you. Oh boy. Lord Van Zieks? What? Well, beautiful weather we're having, isn't it? He's like, go away, peasant. I thought I was making it quite clear that I didn't want to be disturbed. Apparently, you Nipponese are unequipped to read the signs. Oh, I read them. So what are you doing here? Entry to this area is prohibited. Well, the thing is... Lord Chief Justice Strongheart granted us permission to investigate. On the condition that we didn't disturb anything. And yet, you've managed to disturb me. Never mind. State your business, then. Come to think of it, there are quite a few things I'd like to ask Lord Van Zieks about. Not least of which is that awful case, even though it's nothing to do with this. Ask away, Mr. Naruhodo. You won't know unless you try. Alright, your brother Clint. So, Clint was the name of your older brother, I understand, Lord Van Zieks? You Nipponese. I always have to be on guard whenever you're around. So you've been investigating me, have you? No, it's not like that. Well, alright. It is a bit like that. I mean, it's exactly like that. My older brother was also a prosecutor. He was the pride of the Van Zieks family. But tragically, a vicious killer took him from us. The professor, you mean? Is something funny? And that's the extent of what you've discovered, is it? I shouldn't be surprised. Sorry, there's more to it then? Lackluster work is very much your trademark, isn't it? Ugh, you're too kind. Are you going to tar all Nipponese with the same brush next? So tell me, what is your interest in that historic incident? As it happens, Lord Van Zieks, there's a rather curious case that's come to our attention. Have we caught his attention? Are you aware of the Madame Tuswell's Museum of Waxwork by any chance? I am, naturally. I believe that since last month I feature in one of the displays there for public scorn. Of course, the infamous Reaper of the Bailey would have to be exhibited, wouldn't he? Well, a particular waxwork has been stolen from the place and held for ransom. A particular waxwork, which... Wait, you mean... Yes, it's the professor. Mr. Sholmes is investigating the case as we speak. Oh, so that's how the Waxwork Museum ties in. I was unaware of that. He's turned as white as a sheet. What about Enoch Drebber? Do you know where he is? Are the police trying to locate the engineer, Mr. Drebber, already? Surely, that goes without saying. We're very keen to see him found as well. The trouble is, we don't have much to go on aside from the description of the man we heard in court earlier. Which, according to Professor Harebrain, was of a tall, thin gentleman who has straight white hair and wears a black monocle. So I was just wondering, I mean, I realize it's probably not possible, but, we'd very much appreciate any more clues you can give us. Wow, Susanna-san really knows how to take the bull by the horns. And she's got that determined look on her face. Fine, why not? I have a photograph of the man here from an investigation 10 years ago. Oh. Wait a second. Though it appears he had already had the black monocle at the time. No, nothing. I was just surprised that you shared that with us. We all need the man's testimony in court tomorrow, which means we have to do everything we possibly can to track him down in the short time available. So why wouldn't I show you the photograph? What is it about Lord Van Zieks? Sometimes I just can't work him out at all. I think he's got a lot of baggage, a lot of trauma. Alright, so the photograph of Drebber has been entered into the court record. Can we look at that? Hello, Apprentice? Ah, the file I requested for the trial tomorrow. Thank you. Oh boy, Susato hasn't seen him before. Are you alright? Who is this man, Mr. Naruhodo? The Lord Van Zieks' apprentice, apparently. So I'm not the only one. Susato-san can see it too. Lord Van Zieks? May we speak with your apprentice for a moment? It's Kazuma, isn't it? With him? Why? Oh boy. Is he gonna reveal himself? Kazuma-sama! Is he gonna say it? Kazuma? I don't believe it! Your posture, your presence. It can only be. It's you, isn't it, Kazuma-sama? Did he lose his memory? I felt something strange the very first time I encountered this cloaked figure. As if I knew him somehow. Can it really be you, Kazuma? Wait! Too late. What's going on here? Your apprentice is our friend. What is your interest in my apprentice exactly? You act as if you know the man or something. Well, actually... Since when has he been in your care? I don't recall you having an apprentice before I left Britain 6 months ago. Lord Strongheart introduced him to me about 3 months ago now, with instructions to mentor him as a prosecutor. But he didn't tell you why, did he? The man appears to be suffering from amnesia. He's forgotten every last detail about himself. Oh, he has amnesia? That would explain things. Tomorrow, he will appear in court at my side. What? He's to serve as my judicial assistant, or along Lord Strongheart's orders. He'll be in court with us. Now then, unless I'm much mistaken, I believe this conversation has run its course. Oh, yes, thank you. Oh boy. I definitely saw a reaction there. When Susato-san called out like that, it really seemed to hit a nerve. When she called out Kazuma-sama... Oh man. Oh man, Susato. You see it too. Like, we guessed this, didn't we? You'd already met that Max man, hadn't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, yesterday, in fact, at Lord Van Zieks' office. I see. And now she understands why we asked if Kazuma was alive. And if Kazuma-sama really is still alive, it means that Mr. Sholmes lied to us. I know. We're going to need to speak to him about that. Yeah. You're going to have to leave now. The forensic investigation team are due to arrive shortly. If they find you here, it will cause problems. What sort of problems? Foreign affairs problems. Well, we could do without that. Alright, we'll be on our way. Let's go, Mrs. Otto. Of course. Oh boy. And that is where we are going to put a pause on this episode. Is Van Zieks' apprentice actually Kazuma? If he has amnesia, it would explain so much about why he hasn't contacted us and why he appears so aloof when he sees us. It would put so many pieces into place, but then it just brings up the question of why did Sholmes lie to us? What is going on here? And what is with the Hound of the Baskervilles? Something fishy is going on here. And slowly, piece by piece, we are unraveling the truth of what's happened. So if you're as excited as I am to see how this plays out, I hope you'll join me as we continue on. But if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/LeR27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games we're playing each day, I post them on x.com/LeR27. And I hope you join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye.